Let's not talk about crashes. Where's the Dow Jones right at the moment? On Friday, it closed little more than almost double where it was when President Trump first became president in 2017 when he was inaugurated. This has been an incredible run. A month ago, we said all markets were wildly overvalued. Everybody said there's going to be a correction. Now, all of a sudden, everybody's going super depressive. Yes, it's an uncertain world, but at the same point in time, every pundit seems to be saying at the moment it's a disaster and the end of the world. And at that point in time, I'm going contrarian, because when the blob thinks one thing, they're always wrong.
That was Market Movers guest Patrick L. Young back on Monday, April 7th, correctly predicting stocks would survive tariff uncertainty. That was the day the S&P 500 officially hit its low point for the year before President Trump announced a pause on Liberation Day tariffs. Remember that whole thing? Despite some panic, stocks pushed past Black Monday concerns, went on to see double-digit % gains and fresh all-time highs later on in the year. Joining me for the final time here in 2025, the man himself, Patrick L. Young, chairman, founder of Exchange Invest. Okay, there was lots of panic back then. No one knew. No one wanted to catch the falling knife. You certainly did not panic. What did you think would happen? First of all, what did you see then? Let's go back to the Liberation Day lows that set the stage for the rest of the year, Patrick.
Brilliant question, JD. Look, what I saw right then was everybody had lost their mind. Everybody was panicking. They could only look at one thing. They were only talking about one thing. It was the end of the world. The stock market must go down. And what do we know? When the crowd is all going in one direction, there's only one way it can go, and that's the opposite direction, because everybody who sold has sold. That's what we could see that day. Every single pundit was panicking. If you turned to other lesser TV channels, they had all lost their minds. Why? Because they're all in the same bubble, as it were. And that's what I saw that day, JD. It was a very, very simple piece of analysis. You just have to, drink coffee, keep calm, and carry on, as the mug says.
Drink coffee, keep calm, and carry on. The S&P 500 is now up 43% off of the lows from the afternoon of Monday, April 7th. We did officially hit bear market territory that day, at least in terms of intraday trading. I mean, what a distant memory at this point. But I am curious, so many other things that you're following. How about the Supreme Court decision on tariff policy? I know Costco and a lot of other big corporations, they're watching this one closely.
Look, the Supreme Court have got a couple of very interesting decisions in front of them. There's also one in politics, which could actually reset where we are for the congressional elections next year in many ways. I mean, it's very, very difficult to tell quite what is going to be the precision of this tariff policy when the Supreme Court comes out. But realistically, whatever happens, Trump has got a load more tools in his armory to keep managing to finesse what goes on. However, what did we learn from last April? The truth of the matter is that everybody is now taking Donald Trump seriously. They don't know what he's going to do, but they do know that he's going to come after them if they start dumping cheap products into their country. And that, in many ways, JD, is much more important than what particular law the Supreme Court decides that Donald Trump can or cannot apply, because the rest of the world is on notice. Don't mess with the Donald.
Patrick, I want to get your take on what we're seeing out of precious and industrial metals. Understandably, we've been talking a lot about the historic surge in metals like silver. What do you make about the potential export restriction conversation for China in the new year, as well as the record climate themselves?
Very, very interesting what's going on, because at one stage, I mean, you read the South China Morning Post on the weekend. I read it every day. And what are they saying? On the front page, it's talking about China's going to stop people exporting silver. Then you get on the inside page of the business, and it's China is deeply worried and is telling all of its EV manufacturers, there's a come to Jesus here, guys. You're not selling enough cars. What are those cars? They're all full of silver, JD. So there could well be a classical disconnect between communist central planning and what's actually going on in the market. Realistically, though, what has China done? Nothing nefarious. China has simply said, whoops, we got to put the brakes on here. We got to protect our industry. What is the West doing? Well, the problem is, of course, that the folks to the north of the USA, Canada, what are they doing? They're trying to stop anybody mining anything in the interests of their Green New Deals of Mark Carney. That's got to stop. Then we'd all be a lot less worried about what China was doing with its silver.
Yeah, Patrick, we're also following what's going on with the oil benchmarks, WTI, Brent, the U.S. moving troops and special ops aircrafts into the Caribbean. This is tensions with Venezuela heat up. A crucial issue of geopolitics that certainly investors are paying attention to. What do you see as that situation develops?
Fascinating minutia going on at the weekend. Note that Trinidad and Tobago, suddenly they've had cheap gas and oil from Venezuela for decades now. That has all stopped abruptly over the Christmas period. Why? Because Trinidad was believed to be helping the USA, according to the Venezuelan regime. Whatever the truth of that, the situation is this is going to be a macro ripple that goes from the Caribbean out to the world, because Venezuela has used their cheap oil and gas as a power tool to manage to buy influence, not just with Cuba, but with a lot of other more democratic regimes in the region. And that's going to have greater impact on the world. Obviously, that's going to drive oil volatility. But in the short to medium term, what we're going to be looking at, I suspect, is a remarkably fast resolution to the Maduro problem, because as I've said before, it's the end of the end of the line for Venezuela's most famous bus driver.
Patrick, I got about a minute or so left. Can you talk to me finally about anything else big on your radar? Could be catalysts to pay attention to. You got some of the historical anomalies given pricing pressures for a midterm election year, but we're also coming off 3 consecutive years of double-digit gains. What are you paying attention to in the days and weeks ahead?
Going to be very interesting, because obviously Trump's going to want to try and keep this stock market booming through the midterms. He's going to want to keep the economy booming. That's going to have a big impact, obviously, on who's going to be running the Fed from next year. And at the same time, you know, the most important thing is we'll be here every week, JD, making prophecies, whether it's the low in the Dow or indeed pointing out that K-pop Demon Hunters is the film of the season. And indeed, there we go, 500 million views on Netflix.
K-pop Demon Hunters reference. Now it's a party here on The Morning Show. Patrick L. Young, chairman, founder of Exchange Invest. Thank you for taking the time to join me. Great calls here in 2025. Patrick, we'll see you again soon. Thank you.